while we're here talking about the Fed and all of these things going on, half of the world countries I can't even pronounce are all loading up on gold because it will be a prerequisite. You must have gold to be part of this new game.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for November 15th through 22nd, 2022, while supplies last. This week we have a Queen Elizabeth special, 2 coins bearing the portrait of the late monarch. First, we have a Silver Britannia at only $8 over spot, while the Royal Mint has already started minting King Charles commemorative coins. They made the unexpected decision that this first run of 2023 Britannia would still have the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. Our second special this week is Silver Maples. We secured a shipment of backdated silver maples, including full mint-sealed monster boxes from years prior to 2022, and they are available at $8 over spot as well. The silver maple, made by the Royal Canadian Mint, is 4/9 fine and was the first bullion coin minted to that exemplary purity. They are one of the most recognized bullion coins in the world. Both are specials this week. The Silver Britannia and the Silver Maple are $8 over spot while supplies last. They come in tubes of 25 and boxes of 500 and are IRA eligible. If you'd like to learn more about a precious metals IRA, call us, and we'll be happy to help you in that process. Our number for all orders is 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We're always glad to have this returning guest for our weekly market update. This will be Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, who's joining us this Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Andy, thanks for coming back on Liberty and Finance.
Good to see you, my man. Thanks for having me. Just a few weeks left, Thanksgiving, the end of the year, and another year just vanishes right before our eyes.
It's amazing the way that life does that. I have a theory that it's because we're paying so much attention to just the recurring things that go on in our lives that we're not slowing down to pay attention to the little things like kids do. That's why their days last so long and ours go so fast. But that's just a theory.
Yeah, I'm going to start paying attention to the little things from now on because it's amazing. I don't know, the last 3 years have just been a blink of an eye, but it's always good to slow down and talk with you for a little bit. So I'm glad to be here.
I think a lot of our viewers appreciate it too. A lot of them who introduce themselves to us mention that it's from watching you on our channel. That's how they got to know me. And those conversations usually start with the following sentence: "You don't know me, but I know you." And I know we've talked about that before, but it is, I guess, heartwarming to have who would otherwise be complete strangers, just starting right off as though we've been in a conversation for years, with that level of mutual regard and trust and respect and that sort of thing.
I understand. I do. Richard Russell was my mentor. In many ways, I miss him so dearly. And when he passed, it was one of the saddest days of my life and of my professional career. It felt like I lost a friend. So I get it. You know, you come into someone's home on the TV, as people say to me sometimes. I get it. But anyways, it's a privilege. It's an honor not only to talk with you, but to be part of that and help people any way that we can. So thanks for that. And I know you got to have a brief one today, so let's buzz through this. I'll answer to the best of my ability, whatever's going on, and let's see if we can get through this one.
Well, one thing we have is something we completely couldn't have anticipated, but it's going to be a real privilege. And that is that following our report last week, which only came up because multiple clients at an increasing rate of frequency were reporting to me their own personal testimonies and their experience. When I started asking the innocent question, have you ever worked with Miles Franklin before? And they say, no, but I worked with this other place, and oh boy. And when I started to hear those painful stories, we talked about it last week on how to avoid gold scams. You specifically focused on IRA only companies that tend to be particularly prominent in that space of taking advantage of people, predatory pricing, that sort of thing, non-competitive pricing. Well, on the heels of that interview, we got a phone call out of the blue from an individual who is inside the belly of the beast. He's willing to turn whistleblower. He's going to talk to us about why he got into the business in the first place, all his good intentions, all the good he was trying to do and help people get in out of fiat currency and out of the banking system and into precious metals, that sort of thing. Once he got inside the system in one of these big name, big high profile companies, what he found out the reality was about what he was being asked to do and to say and to sell, and the incentives and the pressure that he's under constantly, and to do what he has come to believe is not in the best interest of those clients, not even close. Some of the examples he gave me were truly concerning, and he's going to share those with us when he comes on, and then he's going to talk about his hopeful path out of that. But it's a real privilege that we're going to have to be able to talk to this whistleblower who is inside the system, and we'll have that coming up as soon as we can. We're having trouble putting things together recently because we've got so many different interviews we're trying to get all stacked in here, but we'll get that as quickly as we can and get it to you, our viewers, who are, I'm sure, as eager and interested in hearing about that as I am.
Yeah, it's a black eye, it's a stain on the industry. There are companies, I'm not going to mention any names in this discussion. As much as I want to, I have a personal problem with people who try to raise themselves by stepping on others. And even if those others really do quite seriously and literally deserve it, there was one company in Minneapolis that I'm very familiar with. And, they would be at some of the shows I would speak at. Really cool product. In fact, I bought some of it at the shows because it was cool. And I would look at it and be like, God, I just love that. It's really neat. And I'd buy it, knowing full well that I was paying too much for it, that I would never get my money out of it. One of which, I've always loved baseball. Go way back till, forever. I've talked about my baseball card collection that I built through my company and all of these things. There was a really neat baseball glove coin made by the U.S. Mint. It's a concave coin, and they had a couple of them, and they were neat, and I bought them, and I knew that I got hosed. And in talking with these guys, the one thing that bothered me the most of everything that they were doing was that they would not buy back their product. I said, what? Yeah, we won't buy it back unless we really make a threatening email, and then maybe we'll do something about it. But there are a lot of people in this industry who are not selling precious metals for the reasons that we want to accumulate them. There are people in this industry who are amazing spokespersons. I'm not going to name any names, as smart as they come in terms of economics. But yet what they are selling and the prices that they are selling it for betray the rationale people would have for accumulating precious metals. And this is one of the reasons I say to everyone, buying gold and silver is not about getting wealthy. It is wealth. The way that these companies, all of them, have one similar thread, whether it be through an IRA or not, the similar thread is preying on greed. They tell you how much money you can make by buying these items that are going to go to the moon. There's nothing wrong with having a cherry or some hot fudge on top of a bowl of vanilla ice cream. What you and I talk about, Dunnigan, what we sell, what I prefer is a big old bowl of vanilla ice cream, things that are common, that are generic, that are mundane, that are about adding value from the bullion content. Of course, we want to focus on liquidity and flexibility, and so what type of bullion matters. But really what I'm getting at is that when you get into a situation with precious metals where the main focus is profit based upon a scarcity or a rarity or some special item, you're already going down a bad path. And so, yeah, I'd love to. I know you asked me if I wanted to take part in that discussion, and I would. One thing that I will do is I will be somewhat detached from naming names. But I'll tell you, there are a lot of companies out there, very visible ones, a lot of ones that have respect and very popular spokespeople who are leading people down the wrong path, if indeed what is coming is what I think is coming, and that's going to be some hard times. So in an environment where it's about the number of ounces that matter in a liquid and flexible form, then buying things like proof coins or rarities, or especially common date rarities, like or modern mint rarities. These things that are being sold to you with delusions of grandeur, of becoming wealthy, of buying something that's gone way up. All the other ones have gone way up. Phooey. That's the cherry on the sundae. If you want it, buy it just like I bought the baseball coin, knowing I paid way too much and I got hosed. If you fill up your bowl with those cherries, you'll be sad. I guess some people would eat a bowl of cherries with a drop of ice cream on top, but I would suggest doing it the other way around.
Yeah, another word you used earlier on was liquidity. That's the other problem that you run into, is if you have these oddball specialty, as fancy as they might be, they're not necessarily as readily resellable universally, and certainly not getting back out what you put into it as readily.
Really, that's a really big point. I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's the biggest point I've heard out of all of this. I like the pre-33 numismatics. I know that right behind your head is a Morgan silver dollar. You can't see it, but I know it's there. See, that's a rarity. That's from the 1800s or whatnot. Same with the $20 gold piece here. That's a rarity. But every major dealer in America will know what both of those coins are and what they're worth. And the certification by PCGS or NGC gives you immediate liquidity, sight unseen. A lot of the items that are being sold by a lot of these companies, if you call one or two or three other companies, they'll say, "What? What's that? Never heard of that. Let me check. I have no idea." You're already behind the eight ball. So good point there. Liquidity is very important, and that is the reason they choose the items that they do, because it's not easy to readily shop it, to check it out. Am I being given offered a fair price? So anyways, yeah, I'd love to take part in it, and I'd love to hear what they have to say. I've watched it and witnessed it for 30 years, and usually my role is in picking up the pieces and trying to salvage what is a carnage in terms of what happened to people's retirements or to their nest egg that they trusted to a gold company that led them completely and totally astray. And I wonder what these people are really like, because this whistleblower obviously has a heavy heart and knows that they're being told to do things that are going to harm people. And so, yeah, it's I give the guy credit, or gal, whoever he or she is. I think it's something that should be addressed and understood. And quite frankly, regulation in this industry is needed to put an end to that, because this isn't a federally non-regulated industry. And that's one of the reasons, we're so proud of our reputation, why we left our office in Minnesota. We embrace the regulations. We embrace the honesty and the transparency. And, I think that this is a real problem. And a lot of people are being hurt by it.
Right. You mentioned you wonder what the people who are involved in these industries are actually thinking. This is something that totally blew me away. I mean, it's really, really took me by surprise, because after starting my Reluctant Preppers channel in 2013, one of the reasons for Reluctant Preppers was that idea that life shouldn't be this way. You shouldn't have to make extraordinary preparations for things to be pulled out from underneath your feet, but you do, so we do it. But what I was always picturing was that the main thing holding people back was normalcy bias, just this assumption that everything's going to be okay and everything you can depend on is going to be there, and trying to convince people, no, not everything is always going to be okay. You shouldn't assume that's the predominant and only scenario. But I never thought about this other one, where that is that even people who say that they're on your side trying to help you make your preparations are also have it in for you, and they're trying to take advantage of you and that sort of thing. That one is just, I don't know, I guess I'm my innocence is being stripped away layer by layer here. But anyway, it's awakening, it's eye-opening, and I'm grateful for learning about it now and being able to share it with others so people can all be more aware and prepared.
God bless you for it, because it's not an easy topic to cover. I give you a lot of credit and respect. So, yeah, all good.
Well, I wanted to give you a chance to give us a quick market update. You do a lot of research every week and every weekend preparing for this. What quick hits you're able to share with us about the big picture that you're seeing that people need to be aware of?
I've been following a thread with you, and you've given me the luxury and the liberty of weaving this thread I've called it a linear progression of events. I've said with you literally for 2 years now. And we started talking about things that happened in 2017, 18, 19, 20. Most of it centering around the BRICS nations, most of it centering around the de-dollarization. So just a couple of things that I'd like to talk about today as we continue furthering the thread. One of the things that's really, really shocking to me, Dunnigan, is that every week when I sit down to prepare for the following week's discussions, there is more and more and more to talk about. When I started talking about this, nobody was talking about it. And now lots of people are talking about it. Yet, most people in this country are still fast asleep. And here again, it's for people like you, God bless you, who are out there sharing real information. And just a couple of threads that I'd like to add to this progression about what's going on with the furthering of the BRICS endeavor. We saw just the other day that Biden was at a climate meeting, and it was called the COP27 Climate Group. He was speaking in front of, who said that he was very sorry for leaving the United States, for leaving the Paris Climate Accord, and he would continue to transition the United States away from oil and gas, and that he would give poorer nations billions of dollars to help offset the pollution that the evil United States makes. So here we are, an insolvent nation who is pledging to give money for the pollution that we create when countries like China are much worse in the way of pollution, and that we would continue to transition us away from oil and gas. And you wonder why Saudi Arabia wants to leave the petrodollar, why Saudi Arabia has joined the BRICS nations, why they last week said that China is their biggest trading partner for oil for this year and the next 50, signaling the end of the petrodollar. That's one thing that I think is certainly worth talking about. You don't see much of this in the mainstream media. We found recently the Russian foreign minister announced over a dozen new countries are going to join BRICS. We've already talked about Argentina and Iran, but now it's Algeria has applied as well. The United Arab Emirates, Nicaragua, Turkey, Indonesia, Senegal. We've talked about Nigeria, Afghanistan, Egypt. We've talked about Kazakhstan. We talked about Saudi Arabia applying. And what's interesting is a lot of these countries are specifically targeted because they then have what's called the BRICS Plus. These countries have influence in their own neighborhoods, so to say. So, for example, with Brazil, you have Argentina in Latin America, and Nicaragua in Central America. You have Algeria, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia in the African nations. You have Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, in and around Russia and Central Asia. You have India, Indonesia, and Thailand. These countries are all bringing in their neighbors. And it's very interesting that this list continues to grow higher and higher and bigger as these nations are likely to influence those within their region, not only on the Belt Road Initiative, but also onto the BRICS. And so when the article I was reading talking about additional future candidates should be expected because of the related geographics would be in Central America. These are next to be invited. Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Panama. In Latin America, Bolivia, Chile, Cuba, Ecuador, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela. The Caucasus region, Azerbaijan. In Central Asia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And in Southeast Asia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. Now, I want to mention one thing. We've talked about that the Russian finance minister has already told us they're going to issue a commodity-backed currency, BRICS will, to challenge for world reserve. Now, we've talked about how gold was reclassified Tier 1. Now, many of the countries I just mentioned, check this out. This would be gold holdings as a percentage of reserves. Venezuela, we've already talked about, they've applied. 82% of their reserves are in gold. Uzbekistan is applying and is on that list I just read, 65%. Kazakhstan, same thing, 63%. Bolivia, same thing, 55%. Belarus, same thing, 40%. Turkey purchased more gold in the first 7 months of the year than anyone in the world, 29%. Pakistan, 29%. I can't even pronounce this one. KYRG, Kyrgyzstan, 22%. Sorry, I'm butchering the hell out of that. The point is, I verified all of these countries are either have applied or are on the short list of those that are going to apply. One more thing. We have the United Arab Emirates, and we talked about how there are a couple of senators that want to pull the missiles away, not only from Saudi Arabia, but also the UAE as an open act of aggression by them not pumping more oil into the midterms. They are now in dialogue with Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Iran, Belarus, Cambodia, Kuwait, Maldives, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, so I mean, on and on and on and on. The lists are growing. And the mainstream is ignoring it. But if you go to some of the websites across the globe, they're all talking about it. And so while we're here talking about the Fed and all of these things going on, half of the world countries I can't even pronounce are all loading up on gold because it will be a prerequisite. You must have gold to be part of this new game. And they're all either applying or have expressed interest, or the BRICS nations have expressed interest in issuing invitations. It's getting very, very serious, and it's growing right under our feet, right in front of our eyes. And I think every single week that we talk, there'll be more and more to talk about. But you can see, if you look, that this thread is turning into something much bigger than just a linear progression of events. It is turning into something that I believe will be the main focus of discussion in 2023. 2022 has been the war in the Ukraine. I think 2023 is going to be the transition of the BRICS nations. I guess we'll have to see, but if you look at the tremendous number of countries that are all expressing interest or being invited into the fold, it's becoming very interesting and very, very real, I think, at the same time.
There's so many ways of following up on that, but we don't have time today. So I'll have to hold some of those questions for next time. But I did want to give you a chance to quickly name the weekly special this week before we wrap.
Absolutely. The weekly special is, I guess you could say it's related to Queen Elizabeth. It's not really that, but it just kind of seems that way. We have maple leaves, sorted maple leaves in sealed mint boxes. You can't get them in tubes, of course. And the 2023 United Kingdom Britannia, both of which will be $8 over the price of silver. And in a world where coins are becoming very difficult to get and very expensive, those are as good of a deal as you're going to find. Now, I did want to mention one other thing. We talked about the premiums with the 2023 Silver Eagle. I said, we'll know right away if this is going to continue. You look at the 2023 Silver Eagle, the premiums have not come down one bit. The pre-orders are out there and they're still, $15, $16 plus over the price of silver. This is a phenomenon that is not changing. It's not getting any better. And so if you want sovereign issued coins, this is as good as it's going to get in terms of price, in terms of premium. We still have a nice array of bars and the 1 ounce rounds. We're doing our best to keep things coming in, but it's getting tough, and the premiums are not slowing down, not even with the 2023. So I guess we'll see what tomorrow brings and the rest of the year and into the new year. But if you're looking to get product here before the end of the year, I would simply say this: with the holidays and how jammed up UPS, FedEx, Postal Service gets with the supply chains. I think that you would be wise if you want stuff before the end of the year to get it somewhere between now and no later than the first week in December, as you run the risk of waiting till after the new year to get your product delivered. So 2023 Silver Britannias, assorted date in sealed mint box. Silver Maple Leafs, $8 over, and we'll continue to keep bringing as much as we can in terms of specials to your audience, and just appreciate the opportunity to even do so.
And just to remind people that if they want things to ship faster, paying by bank wire cuts more than a week out of your shipping timeline. So that's helpful to get things into your hands quicker. Andy, just as always, just so grateful for your presence here. And on behalf of all of our viewers, thanks for joining us for this weekly market update on Liberty and Finance.
You stay well. Hope to see you again next week. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And actually, that's not for a week away. So I'll say that again next week, too. But all the best to you, Dunnigan. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we will let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be double boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Elijah, my brother Kaiser, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.